have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
This is so secret. There have been very few people in our entire government
that have been allowed or provided access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees. People have been hurt protecting and hiding this information.
Some people claim it would cost them their lives if they spoke out about these things.
You had information being locked away that could change the trajectory for a species.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
All right, Scott.
Wow. It's an amazing time, Alan. You and I have both been in this field for a long time, decades. And we've always been asking about disclosure. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And it's happening. And so welcome, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamas. This is Alan Steinfeld, the author and the man who is at the center of all things making contact. Alan, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our audience tonight's topic.
Well, we're looking at the age of disclosure, but one thing that video does not talk about is the other components to the situation here. That just references what I call the first part, which is the defense. There's the defense and there's the offense, and then there's the spectators. That's the Defense Department. That's the defensive part. That's just the government effort to come forward to fight itself. There's whistleblowers and there's people stopping the whistleblowers. That all has to do with one aspect. What we're really missing there is what the phenomena itself is about. What is really going on? Who's there? What do they want? That's not really addressed in that film, which is a great film to get people going. So there's the offense. That's what I call the phenomena. When are they showing up? Why are they showing up? Why are they there? What do they want? And is this really an invasion or an upgrade to humanity? I think it's an upgrade that we have to get used to understanding what this interface is. It's not about making weapons. It's not nuts and bolts. It's about consciousness. It's about awakening to who we really are. That's what I think the phenomena side is about. And the third part of that is the experiencers. The experiences of who we'll showcase tonight is really the most essential part because they are in direct contact with the phenomena and sort of fighting the government for the truth. I mean, fighting is not a good word, but they're here and they are the essence of why this thing is happening, to awaken consciousnesses like the people we're going to see tonight. Each of these people have had direct experiences. I've had direct, and we're going to see John Martin's great thing. So that's really why I think this show, where we're specifically talking about experiencers, transcends the disclosure part of the government and even what the phenomena itself is doing, because in truth, I wrote this book because we have no idea what they're doing. My favorite line is, something unknown is doing, we don't know what. So, but there is keys that these experiencers are going to share tonight that are going to show us a closer truth to the reality of the situation. So that's my presentation there, Scott.
Beautiful. Hey, I want to welcome everybody in the Zoom room, over 50 of us already. Please put into the chat box where you're coming from geographically. And if you're willing, what has been maybe your most interesting experience of raising consciousness or expanding your reality? Was it a connection to ancestors that have deceased, connection to angels, connections to non-human intelligence? I'm guessing that almost everybody in the Zoom room has had some extraordinary experience, maybe a near-death experience or an astral projection. So we want to hear from you. So please put that into the chat box, and I will share some of those experiences as well. because we want to hear from you. And I really want to appreciate the amazing presenters that are with us tonight. Alan's done it again. And thank you, each of you, for being willing to come onto a public format and share about your experiences, because the more we hear, it creates the 100th monkey effect that we open ourselves to having more experiences and feeling more comfortable sharing our experiences. And that's a real gift that each of you are giving to people tonight. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. We are at an inflection point where there's no going back to ignorance, where it's only the future and it's an unknown. And I say it's full of excitement for everyone here and the planet. So,
and we need it. I mean, let's face it. I think we all know that humanity is on a fast car heading for a cliff. And we need to radically change our consciousness. You know, I had the honor of doing one of the very last interviews with Timothy Leary before he died. Is when I was working on Strange Universe. So this is like the late 1990s. And his theory was that our consciousness had to catch up with the fact that we had created atomic energy, nuclear energy, and that there was a whole movement of rapid consciousness acceleration so that we didn't blow ourselves up. And I think that that's what's happening. And I'd like to think that a lot of the experiences we're having with NHI, non-human intelligence, is because they can't intervene. It's kind of like Star Trek's Prime Directive, but they can do everything they can to help us raise our consciousness so that we pull it together. And I think almost all of these experiences are exactly that, helping us to remember that we are multidimensional beings, that we are part of a much greater whole. And that's what people like John Martin and the people we're going to hear from think are going to share with us tonight, is how it's changed their consciousness in beautiful and wonderful ways.
yeah, I think this is the most exciting thing happening on the planet. That is why I'm obsessed with this. And that's why I'm so happy we do this show, Scott. So thank you.
Absolutely. I would love for you to introduce, I'm going to let you do the honors of introducing Shelly, but I just want to say I love Shelly Reef, and I'm really delighted. Oh, we've got an Omashar song.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, I got so I was suffering from premature evaluation. It is my pleasure to turn over things to the house musical artist for the Global Peace Tribe, the man who makes all things happen, our beloved Omashar.
Stars, our worlds Ancient souls are here to assist us, letting us know they're here to serve, they're here to serve, and traveling through all of creation. We're greeting new life and being educated, emancipated. Emancipated.
We're in gallery view, and this is where those of us with our cameras on can send light, love, and appreciation, little hearts to Omashar and Desiree and the Global Peace Tribe dance team. Thank you, Omashar. As always, you knocked it out of the park, and I apologize for almost forgetting. Before we go to Shelly, I do want to read some of the some of the comments that have come in, because we really do want to include all of our audience members. I won't be able to read everything that everybody writes, but I'm going to pick a few as examples and hope it'll inspire the rest of you to put into the chat box some of your experiences. Elizabeth Hartstar writes, at 15, after meditation, I had a Kundalini experience and Yeshua appeared. And from that time on, I've been led by spirit, connecting now 50 years later, and have connected with my galactic soul star family and have met my multidimensional aspects. Thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here. We should do a whole evening with about crystal skulls. She's a great crystal skull collector. Elizabeth.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Dr. Laura writes, these have all expanded my consciousness. ET ships and sightings, angelic influences, prophetic dreams, my patients having NDEs, telepathy with animals. I've been very blessed. Yes, you have, Dr. Laura, and thank you for sharing that. Brent writes, vivid dreams, a vision quest, awesome insights, and downloads to my cellular neuromuscular system. It shakes me to the bones. Yeah, you know, these experiences, they can be exciting and they can be terrifying. And you know what they say, fear is excitement without enough breath. So thank you for that. Karen Eisenberg writes, she's from North Carolina, connection with angels, orbs, the sun, the moon, clouds, stars, planets of all nature. And finally, Reverend Jeffrey Kohlberg writes, it is my studies with Nassim Harriman and being with all the amazing people I deeply connect with. And yes, he's had experiences as well. So thank you, all of you, for kind of giving us some initial experiences that you put in the chat box. Look forward to reading more. I'm going to turn it over to Alan to introduce Shelly.
Thank you, Scott. I think we are on the threshold of something new and unknown, and it's about time experiencers spoke. They aren't recognized at Senate hearings, congressional hearings, or at the big conferences. Whitley Strieber complained at the Soul Foundation that there was not one experiencer sharing their information, and it's true. The phenomena comes down to people like Shelly Reef, who's had sort of a lifetime of experiences. Besides being an incredible musician, harp player, sound healer, she's had very profound moments in the desert by herself, in Joshua Tree with a bunch of people. It is really a kind of it's a different type of experience in a way, Shelley, that you've had than other people. So yeah, please jump in and talk about wherever you want to start with your kind of most dramatic experience.
Well, you know, I won't actually start with the most dramatic one. I've learned over the years to start with the one that was the turning point, and that was the one where there were a lot of other people involved, because that was the moment that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that that it wasn't, there was no way, it was an internal experience. I wasn't making it up. I wasn't crazy. And that was Joshua Tree Desert. There were 6 of us. It was kind of textbook, where in the middle of the night, this beautiful giant light appeared. We were all watching the light. And what is so fascinating about it is that there were 6 of us, but we were in 4 different locations. So 3 of us together up on a high ledge, and another 3 doing individual walkabouts down on the desert floor. And so the 3 of us together, you know, we had each other to confirm that we were seeing this light as we watched it for I don't know how long, because time got very strange. The light seemed to like blossom out towards us, and the next thing I know is I woke up on the ground, finding my friends next to me on the ground, waking up from having been unconscious, with the distinct sensation of having been scanned. And that was the first thing I said. I woke them up, and we all agreed that we had that feeling of being scanned, but it wasn't negative. You know, when I look back on it, in the moment, you're afraid, because what is that? But over the years, as I look back in retrospect, I can't identify anything bad that has ever happened in any of my encounters. So that one with other people. And what was interesting in the morning is that when we all converged in the parking lot at the designated meeting time, the other 3 came running in individually telling the exact same story. So either it was a collective consciousness experience, or it was, you know, something happened from this light in the sky. And either way, collective consciousness, or if it is off-planet intelligence, I don't think maybe there's that big of a difference. Over the many years, what I've discovered is that the place in the mind that is being accessed or utilized during these contact moments is the same place that I or others go to for high self-contact when we're under hypnosis, when we're practicing telepathy, which I have come to teach. So it all is happening in that same part of the mind, specifically, I believe, to be the pineal, which is also the place that is associated with non-local intelligence. So it is happening all out there. So many, many more experiences. What's really interesting about my story is that it's polarized. I experience both moments of what one might term an abduction. Alan once called it kidnapping. And those you can consider a negative experience, because, you know, you're not in control suddenly, so it feels very negative. However, even though I've had a lot of those and I would like to be in control, I don't recall anything actually negative ever happening. And I do recognize that lots of people have had lots of frightening experiences in that same circuit. So I don't know exactly what that is. But on the other hand, I've been communicating with these beautiful light beings who have been appearing in me when I'm sleeping or in lucid dreaming or meditative state since I was a little girl. They've always been there, consistent, same source of intelligence since I was a little girl. I visit them every single day. And the other thing that I think maybe, as Alan referred to, makes my journey unique is that at a certain point, after the Joshua Tree Desert incident, shortly after that, there was another incident in Big Sur where two of us together lost 6 hours of time. That's a lot of time. And after that, I said, ooh, I don't like this. I don't want to know. I'm not curious. I'm shutting it down. And I did everything inside that I could meditatively every day. I developed very strong practices to become sovereign in my energy field. And I found that over the next many years, decades even, there were no more of what one would call an abduction experience. It was only 3 or 4 years ago at Portal to Ascension in San Diego when Alan introduced me to Ian Holling, who took me immediately to Linda Moulton Howe, who kind of unpacked me like a suitcase. And I think my ego kind of kicked in saying, wow, this is something. I became curious again, and it was no more, it was 2 or 3 weeks later that I had the next abduction experience. And there's been quite a few since then. So the last thing I think that Alan wanted to specifically to talk about tonight is the commonalities between experiencers. And one of those commonalities, I didn't realize that it was anyone else but me. Alan, I don't know if you want to reveal who this was or not. I'll leave that up to you, because I was at lunch at the Psy Games with Alan and this other very wonderful, specific person.
Yes, that was Chris Bledsoe Jr. It's okay to talk about him.
Thank you. Okay. It was Chris Bledsoe Jr. And we were talking about our experiences, our contact experiences. And I said, there's this vibration that comes into my chest right here, this very strong vibration, and it kind of takes over my whole body. And he said, me too. And I said, wow, you feel that? He said, yeah, it's always there right before I have contact. And he said, and there's this sound. And I said, me too, what's your sound? And he said, wah, wah, wah. And he said, what's your sound? And I said, wah, 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 wah. And we had a good laugh, but it was a real breakthrough moment for both of us, because we realized that we weren't alone in these, we weren't alone.
Well, Shelly, that's why I wanted to invite Indy specifically for that. He had the same wah wah fight, right? Yes, he did. Okay, I've gone to you, but yeah, that's at least 3 of you having that same. He'll tell his story, but sorry to interrupt you. I just had to throw that in.
That's great. Since I've started talking about it, Ian Holling of Earth Files is sending me more and more people who have experienced that. And it took me it was so strong that night in Joshua Tree. And I could never get that sound out of my head. And it took me decades until I found the crystal alchemy bowls. It's not the white frosted bowls, but the crystal alchemy singing bowls. And it's not every bowl. It's a small portion of those bowls. When you chime them, they will make that wah, 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 wah sound, that beautiful sound. And so that kind of, first I found the bowls, and then the bowls took me to the harps, and the harps took me to the monochords, which is another sound that people have specifically referenced in association with contact, is the sound of a string instrument, the same note being played over and over and over again in succession. And so I use these instruments, I play them all at the same time somehow, and lead guided meditations that are focused on connecting people with not only through the higher self and to the cosmic, the universal intelligence, because I really believe that universal intelligence is a language that we are about to become fluent in, and The things that will help people become fluid in that, of course, is meditation. Meditate every day. Make it non-negotiable. It's the way you come to know yourself. And if you're one of those people who says, I can't meditate because I can't silence my mind, just keep going, because at some point your mind will silence. And your mind has to be silenced so that something new can come in. So if you're doom scrolling, that you're going the opposite direction. That's away from where we want to be going for personal contact. I personally believe that disclosure happens in the heart of the individual. I believe that, just that the definition of disclosure is going to be the day when our government comes out and kind of admits that contact and that non-human intelligence is real. However, that still won't prove it in your heart. You can't tell me that when the government tells you something, you're going to say, oh, thank God, I always knew. You're going to say, are they really telling the truth? And now that we're in the age of things like deep fake, AI, it's harder and harder to tell what is the truth. Your internal navigation system is the one thing that is required for you to connect with non-human intelligence. And so doing that work, the meditation, I'll let Scott tell you about the courses that I have coming up. I teach telepathy, where I teach people to, and it's a kind of a different, my guides taught me this technique, and it really is the technique of kind of coming out of that part of our mind that has been manifest, visualize. So we're so heavy in the frontal lobe, but where we really need to go is into the pineal. Which is a very different experience. And when you're in the pineal, that's when everything kind of opens up and you can receive. So we have to get out of seek. We have to get out of fear, because you're not going to be allowed to see or know the truths of the universe until you come into a state of self-love with yourself, compassion for all living things, connection with Earth, connection with humanity as a whole. These are the things that kind of like earn you your stripes, and at that point you'll be initiated. You don't want to be on, if there's a bifurcation happening, you don't want to be going the wrong way as this opens up. Because it's possible to have a negative experience with off-planet intelligence. And it's very easy to find that in all of the media. Equally is it easy to find the most beautiful, expansive, evolved experience, communion, connection with non-human intelligence, and that also is online and everywhere for you to experience, namely through shows just like this. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Shelly. We are going to have a Q&A period and kind of the second half of the show. We're going to hear from our main presenters. And Shelly, so you can think about it, the first question we'll go to during our Q&A roundtable in about 45 minutes is from Dr. Laura, asking you about your abduction experiences and why do you think they were abducting you. So you can prepare for that. And I want to encourage people, if you'd like to get more of Shelly's amazing offerings, her website is her name, Shelly, Shelly, Reef, Reef, like what you find in the sea. And she does amazing healing work. I've had the opportunity to experience her sound healing, and it's quite beautiful. And she's got all sorts of events coming up. So you can take a look at the events taking place in Southern California, Sedona, and all things Shelly Reef. Live at shellyreef.com. And we'll look forward to bringing you back for our Q&A roundtable in just a little bit.
Thank you, Scott.
Alan, just before we go to our next scheduled presenter, I'm going to go to Desiree, who you introduced to me at the New Living Expo, and she has become a major part of our weekly Global Peacetime broadcasts. She has to go in a few minutes, and she has also had some amazing experiences. And Desiree, I would love for you to share a little bit about some of your experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to share something that's been kind of building. And it's been ever since I've came on the Global Peace Tribe. So I want to say thank you for everybody here. I love you. I love the energy. I love the things you teach me. But one of the first things that I experienced after being on the Global Peace Tribe and going to my very first Soul Search Expo was getting the information that a new kind of alien species was going to be birthed. And that I want to say was probably back in May or so. And then you fast forward to this weekend. And what had been happening is a lot of energy had been running through my teeth. And for me, that signals it's reconnecting circuitry. And then Friday afternoon, for some reason, my guides were like, "You're going to sleep." And I was like, all right. So I just laid there. And as I'm laying there, they started downloading in Andromedan, Pleiadian, Avian hybrid. And I literally felt that come into my body and then just absorb into my body. And then the next day, my guides were like, "You got to connect with all the chakras of the earth." I was like, okay. So I spent the whole morning just connecting with the different chakras of the earth and anchoring that energy in and allowing that to flow through. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But I want to thank all of you because like you have taught me so much. I mean, you've shared your energy. So my growth is partly because of you guys. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We love you, Desiree. You're such a wonderful part of Global Peace Tribe shows now, and we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully on Wednesday night. Thanks for sharing. Alan, let me just read a couple of quick comments from our people in the chat box, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Susan Bloomquist writes, "My practice has allowed me to connect, and the planets and one particular star have different aspects when I look at them. I'm pretty sure it's me who is not developed enough for complete contact. I am looking forward to this ongoing journey with Star Family." You know, earlier, Shelly was talking about the value of meditation, and it can't be hard for some of us to kind of shift into that practice. Carol Craig writes, "It took me a long time, years, to get where I have the discipline to meditate daily, but I've been at it for decades now, and I don't think I can live without it." So thank you very much for that. She says she's always following her inner being. Just two more ones. From our beloved Dia Therese, her out-of-body experience was when she rolled a four-wheel drive 3 times over. A huge tree went through the driver's seat, which she no longer was because she'd been thrown into the back seat, and it was a total magical experience. She viewed her body in front of her, guardian angels, and since that time, she has been recognizing that she is living in gratitude. So that is a more dramatic example of what can happen for some of us. And then finally, Carol Craig also writes, "I was driving with a buddy just west of Paradise, Colorado, and there was a light being emitted behind the mountain range that ran parallel to the interstate. I kept passing the same mile marker, and right when I was going to see what was emitting the light, and I mentioned to the driver, 'Are you seeing what I'm seeing?' He acknowledged that he was. The light went out, and we kept going, and then the mile markers continued to rise." Later, the driver refused to discuss the situation because he was afraid. That's an important message from her because it's such a blessing, like Shelly's first experience she described, to have that experience with other people. And sometimes the other people get scared by it. And sometimes we have the experience by ourselves, and it's harder when you have that first big experience by yourself. It's like, am I going crazy? Will people think I'm crazy? And that's why we're doing shows like tonight. All right, turning it over to Alan to introduce our next presenter.
Thanks, Scott. I think that's really key, is to understand the the biology, the emotional aspects of this phenomena, because we need to get accustomed to the presence of these other beings. And I think that's what this next presenter does, Debz Shakti, because she is a quantum hypnosis therapist. She is a channel. She is a lifelong experiencer, and that's what I really want to hear about. She channels the star teachers, and she was one of the main people in the Alien Abduction Answers movie, which featured John Yost, the producer, director, and Whitley Strieber. So she works with experiencers. She understands all dimensions of that interaction, from the fear to the beautiful experiences that people are having. I'd love to hear what's the balance there, Debz? What's the percentage? What creates a good or bad trip, as we say? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. And thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Alan and Scott and everyone, for being here. And so cool to see Desiree here too. I met her in May at, I think, the Contact Modalities Expo in Delavan, Wisconsin, where I was doing, for the very first time on stage in public, a quantum hypnosis session with an experiencer. And because I always had a rule that no one else would ever be in the room during my sessions, but the teachers, my guides, told me it's time to make this more public and involve people in the public. And as we were going into the session, this packed hall of people, in the very back, I see Desiree in the back moving the energy. And oh my goodness, it was just like the cherry on top of the whole event, because it really helped bring the audience into coherence with us, which is always my goal, right? We want to have heart coherence for good contact. And I just fell in love with her and have been ever since, and can't wait to see you in person again very soon. So thanks. So anyway, I am a lifelong experiencer. My very first memory that I have now consciously is at about age 3 months old. And I was suffocating. I was suffocating in my crib. And for years, I always remembered this very, very vivid memory. And I thought it was my father picking me up and turning me over so I wouldn't smother. And eventually, over the years, I kept having this memory. And eventually I asked my father one time, I said, do you remember when I was suffocating as a baby and you saved my life? And he said, that never happened. I don't remember that. And so usually I'm the therapist, but I went to one of my friends who is a quantum hypnotherapist and had her regress me. And sure enough, it was not a human being. It was a very tall extraterrestrial being, I would call it, an extraterrestrial being who picked me up, lifted me up, stopped me from smothering, and brought me to its chest. And it was, I'll never forget, it was very tall, long, bipedal, no facial features, and it looked like it was made out of kind of black transparent glass. And you could see inside of it, but instead of seeing organs and, capillaries and stuff, there were galaxies, universes of light moving around through this thing. And when it brought me to its chest, there was this great, huge, glowing golden and white light. And it brought me to its chest, and I felt transcendent, basically. And it just patted me on the back, and I was completely fine by then. And then eventually it laid me down, and I felt just engulfed in love. And so fast forward about 60 years later, I realized that the beings that I'd been channeling all my life and who never had a name. I asked for themselves to give themselves a name so we could talk about them. They said, you can call us the teachers or the star teachers. That was the very first one that I encountered, and it literally saved my life. But I have had daily, almost constant contact since then. 70 years of it almost, and it's been wonderful. And like Shelly, not one experience has ever been negative or frightening. Sometimes very odd or even shocking, or making me feel like full of wonder and questions about what was happening, but never a negative thing. And of course, as I went on in my childhood and kept describing all of these things, I always was able to perceive and work with energy and perceive multidimensionally. So I actually had a whole other family living in an overlay as a child with my family. And my family just thought I was very creative and, smart little kid, had a good imagination, till I went to school. And then, of course, that's when everything started getting closed down because people didn't, I was constantly told, quit imagining things, quit making things up, be real, and so forth. But the contact never stopped. And what I want to say is my work as a therapist, as a scientist, I live a multidimensional life, and I'm highly distractible. So I've got a lot of education, clinical psych, neuroscience, quantum physics, you name it, anything that comes together and explains the universe and consciousness, that's my jam. But I've also been a lifelong yogi and studied the martial arts and been a big nature lover. I homesteaded for many years when I was a young adult and a young mother. So all of these things together make up who I am and what I do with my life. My life's purpose is to help people get in touch with their higher consciousness. And so not only have I been, in contact with star beings or interdimensional beings since, birth, but, angels, little folk, fairy people, Sasquatch, orbs. Oh my goodness, we could talk about orbs forever. ETs, of course, UAPs, all of these things. And of course, people you would talk about being in the spirit realm, or what some people would call ghosts. So I do all of this work and help people to understand why they're having the experiences they're having. And it's mainly because humans are ready to actually step over that threshold and join, I believe, the cosmic collective again. We've been here experimenting in this little kind of limited construct for a while that we built for ourselves to have, some specific learning experiences and so forth. But now, in fact, this is what the teachers keep saying when I channel them. In fact, just had an event yesterday for the Solstice. But what they keep saying is, now is the lifetime for the human species on this planet to kind of hit escape velocity from the third dimensional or third density and move up in our awareness and sustain that awareness in our consciousness so that we can rejoin our, the rest of our relatives in a completely different paradigm of living.
But Debz, I have a question for you,
Go ahead.
Debz.
Sure, Alan.
Why do some people have a negative experience? Like I saw in the movie you were part of.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about that.
Super good question. In my experience, I have learned, and I've been told by these beings, that everything relates to your vibrational state. And for those, I can speak that language to this audience. All of you understand vibration, or you wouldn't be here. But when I speak to the mainstream public or to the thousands of clients that I work with every year, many of them aren't there yet. And so I say, insert the word emotional or feeling state. Whatever your main sustained feeling or vibrational state is, that is the level of experience you're going to have, not just with, extraterrestrials or other non-local consciousness, but in your reality. It literally is the lens by which we perceive and interact with our moment-to-moment reality.
So if
And
someone's
so-
having a frightening, traumatic experience,
Yes, most of that, I would say also, from talking and working with all of these people, all these decades, most of that is indoctrinated fear. It's programmed basically to keep us small. If everybody knew that we're, related to these other beings, and that on the higher levels, they're all here trying to help us, give us a leg up to rejoin that society, then we would not need the organizations and the authorities who are in control of our planet right now. And so I don't want to badmouth anybody, but religions, politics, even academia, certain realms of academia, all these things, cultures literally have programmed people from birth to be afraid, or at least suspect, of anything that is not like them or not familiar. That's why we see so much racism, misogyny, hatred between different spiritual beliefs even. And it's all nonsense. But those indoctrinated beliefs are all fear-based. And so when I work with someone who comes in, and many of them do come to me and say, I had the most terrifying experience, including John Yost, who was the main star of Alien Abduction Answers. He was the whole reason we made that movie. He wanted to have a session, but he was too afraid to do it. And after a couple years, when he finally agreed to do it, he wanted to film it because he's a filmmaker, right? We had no idea we were making a film when we did it. But he was terrified of what had happened to him when he was a 7-year-old boy, and he didn't understand why. And he had a lot of missing information, a lot of missing time, a lot of missing memories. And so that work that I do with experiencers, and indeed I work with all people, but I seem to really have this big funnel of experiencers. The work that I did with him helped him to recover that. And then he realized what his human memory had told him had happened, and why it happened, like it was scary, was completely programmed fear. And it was what I call the Hollywood program, because most movies and so forth, media that we've grown up with, show, talk about alien invasion and ETs coming to Earth and eating babies and all that kind of thing, and abducting, kidnapping, and doing all kinds of horrible things to people. And so these people are terrified. And then when they go in, and I take them into the quantum field, that's where all information lies. That's, you can call it the Akashic record, you can call it the mind of God, whatever you want to call it. There is a field that encases the entire compendium of experience, past, present, future. There is really no time. It all exists at the same time, always in the same point. It's non-local. And so we can access that very easily now with some beautiful techniques. I blend my work, because I am a yogi, have taught yoga and meditation and sound technology, mantra, breath work, all of that my whole life. We take that as the launching pad. All of my clients, all of my students have to do that stuff before we go into the field. But just as Shelly was talking about, that work clarifies and amplifies and opens up and actually engages the pineal gland. The pineal gland is made of lots of little crystals. And when you do certain things physiologically and mentally, but especially with the breath and the voice, all those little crystals start vibrating at the same rate of oscillation. And when you apply that together with a little bit of pressure in the body, you create the piezoelectrical effect, which is what runs every piece of electronic equipment you're using right now. And it's like a cosmic satellite dish. You start to send a signal out to the quantum field, and you're able to access anything from the quantum field. I call it streaming the cloud because, you have a little operating system up here in your brain, but it's like a flash drive, can only hold so much information, but everyone has complete access to the cloud. And in agreement with Shelly again, it starts with meditation and some practices to quiet the mind and get out of the left brain or ego personality's way so that you can access that. And when we do, experiencers I don't think I've ever had a person who did not come back with the same, if they came with fear, with the same amount of fear that they had when they came to me, because they start to see the true reality of who these beings are. And in fact, the teachers say they're us. They're all us. There is no one else. There's just you and the universe, YO universe, and all the different projected facets of yourself. So anyway, the star teachers are actually, on a higher frequency. Again, they're not supposed to interfere, but they can sure give us clues about how we do it. And they say we do it. We do successfully change. And it happens in this particular lifetime, by the way, this incarnation. And it's happening now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so important, the work that you're doing. And if you please put into the chat box how people can reach you. And I just emphasize that if someone has had a frightening experience, it doesn't mean there's anything bad or wrong with you.
No.
It may be the epigenetics that you came into this lifetime with. It might be ancestral. It might be just things you've picked up. You know how we'll have like a weird dream, and then we realize, oh, it's because I saw that commercial or I had that conversation. So negative experiences doesn't mean there's anything bad or wrong with anyone. It means that you need to go work with Debz to figure it out and sort it out and turn it around. So Debz, thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. And you'll see me at a lot of these different conferences making presentations. I lead a lot of retreats, and I still lead CE5 groups, which I didn't call CE5 until the last couple of decades. I've been doing this work since I was a young adult. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And
we'll check with you during the Q&A because I know there's
thank
questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debz. All right, Alan, take it away.
Well, when she said there isn't anything out there, it's because we're learning that we are consciousness first.
That's right.
So if we're consciousness, it doesn't matter where these beings are from, because if they're a level of intelligence, maybe all living things are consciousness, but we can connect. We can connect with consciousness because we are consciousness, basically, is what I just got from Deb's input. I mean, I knew that, but all right. Our next guest is an incredible artist, Cynthia Marsh, and she is also a certified forensic artist. And she, she works with criminal cases, describe criminals, but she also works with experiencers to have them describe what these beings look like, and she draws those pictures for people. But she's also had her own experiences, and she's an amazing artist, and she has a whole slideshow, and she wants to talk about her experiences. So thanks, Cynthia, for joining.
Oh, thank you for having me, Alan.
Yes,
yeah,
well,
thank you.
Go ahead. I'd love to see your art. Yeah,
it's just great to be here, and I just feel that the intention in doing this is really important for experiencers to come forward and talk about what's happened to them in their lives, to normalize this conversation, because there are probably, an uncountable amount of people in the world that have had bizarre things happen to them, and they just don't even have anybody to talk to or any way to process it. So this is really important. So thank you.
Right. You run an experiences group in Colorado. You used to, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hold on. I just clicked on something.
But go to your images and talk us through like how some of your experiences you want to show us and the downloads you got and the sacred geometries you've worked with. And okay.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Yes, I got it up. That's great. Are you able to see this?
Yes, we are. Beautiful. Nice.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Hold on. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of, and this is not going to be super long, but this is a little bit of an overview of what's happened to me in this one particular that's brought my art to where it is now, and pretty much has changed a lot about my life. So in 1974, and just like some other people have spoken about here too, I had some experiences happen when I was much younger than this one event. But this is the one event that really was a confirmation for me that it changed my whole worldview of reality. So there was a disc-shaped UFO that appeared in the day. I'm going to show you some images and talk a little bit more about that. As a result, years later from this event that happened to me and multiple other events that happened to me, I started to get these dreams with symbols in them, and they occurred for many years, and I didn't document the symbols. And then when my work for law enforcement stopped in 2020, because of COVID, I was really being given this inner prompt to begin documenting the symbols. So that's basically what I'm going to talk to you about today. So I grew up in Westchester County in Hudson Valley. And one day when I was 14, me and my best friend, we went for a walk in our neighborhood, and we went down this dirt road that had a no trespassing sign on it. And we knew that there was the water treatment plant was down there. We'd never been down there before, but there was something about that was calling to us to go down, just sort of mischievously, just to explore that part of our neighborhood. And when we got a little further down the road, we started hearing this humming noise. And it was disorienting. We were looking around, trying to figure where the sound was coming from. And I was looking over towards the water treatment plant, noticing the motion of the plant as it was turning the water, and realized the sound was not coming from there, but in fact, it was coming from above us. And there was this craft that was probably 20 feet above us. It had no rivets, no seams. I was completely mesmerized by it. I was just trying to understand what I was seeing. I was looking at it. It was mystifying. It was beautiful in some way. I didn't feel fear at all at that point. And after, I don't know how long, you know, when something so shocking happens, you lose track of time. I went to look for my friend that I was there with, and she was gone. I could see her at the very beginning of the long dirt road, running as fast as she could away. And in that moment, I felt total terror and also ran away. And this there's a couple weird things about that. One weird thing about that was that we continued being best friends, and we never talked about this together. We never discussed it at all. And I went off to college, and it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I circled back around, because I'd been for a lifetime investigating this topic, and I contacted her to compare memories. An interesting thing that I just learned this summer, there was a little bit of a reunion that I had here with some old high school friends, and she was here, and she remembers seeing a light in the sky, far up in the sky, that was coming towards us, and it scared her, and she ran away. I didn't see any light in the sky. I just looked in the sky, and there this was. So that was fascinating for me to think about, that this must have moved so rapidly for it to be from a light far up in the sky to this craft right there, 20 feet above the ground. So that's new information that I just got this summer. So soon after this event happened, I began having dreams, and I had this one vivid dream of seeing myself sitting on a white bench in a seamless white rounded room with projections happening there that were very rapid. That, this is just a still image, so obviously I can't capture that feeling in a still image for you here, but very rapid, you can imagine, very rapid images, some just beautiful images of the planet, different places in the planet, and then evolving into pictures of war, pictures of destruction, pictures of fires and floods and things like that. And around the same time, there was another very vivid dream that I had, where the sky was this incredible orange, and it was filled with a grid of these ships that were all coming slowly in my direction. And it was in that moment I was being given directions as to a role that I was to play in the future, that this was a future event that was going to be happening. And those dreams were the dreams that were just so vivid that they just have stayed with me for my whole life. And I've always felt like they're prophetic, they're real, that I'm going to be living to witness these events. So, it looks like I might have missed something here, but I began having some dreams in 2012. In 2012, I also became a forensic artist, as Alan was mentioning. I was given a calling to use my artistic skills to help other people by getting trained and interviewing them and drawing their memories in order to help identify people. And when COVID happened, that stopped. That work stopped. People were not going out, and the whole lockdown was happening. So I got this message to start documenting these dreams that I had gotten, where for about 4 years in 2012, from 2012, of symbols. And I have this on the screen because the Hudson Valley sightings that happened, where thousands of people witnessed crafts, that happened in the same area that my UFO encounter happened 10 years later. So that's why that's there. Anyway, so the dreams I started to get would all of a sudden come. I would see a symbol. There would be one symbol after another symbol after another symbol. My mind and my attention would be very focused, very considered. I would be thinking in the dream state that this is extremely important and to pay attention. And so I was just sort of observing, just like in those previous images that I showed you of the dreams where I was showing projections. It was similar to that feeling where I was passively watching these downloads of these images, thousands and thousands and thousands of symbols flashing in front of my brain, until it was almost too much information, too many symbols. I had no idea what it meant, and then it would stop. And this continued to happen, this over and over and over again, over the course of about 4 years. And during that time, I wasn't prepared, and I didn't think to document any of it. But then now when COVID happened and I had no other work to do, and I was really feeling like I needed to really start to explore this, I was really stuck because I felt these were important and I really needed to get this right, and I needed to draw the symbols correctly and can't just make stuff up. And one of my friends, it's also an experiencer who is also has been given a lot of symbols and includes them in his art. He said something that really made a lot of sense to me. And he just said, Cynthia, it's all in you. It's all inside you. Just get out of that side of the brain that's being analytical and just begin. And that made so much sense to me in that moment. It just was sort of like this permission slip that he gave me. And I just started writing, and I started writing and writing and writing these symbols. I couldn't stop. I'd go, like it was the winter, I'd take a bath, I'd be writing with charcoal in the bathtub, you know, just pages and pages and pages. And because I started to make the effort to begin this documentation, the dreams then came back. And so then I would wake myself up from the dreams, write down some symbols, go back to sleep, and so on. I mean, I'm not saying that every single one that I'm drawing now is specifically what because literally probably 10,000 symbols have come into my brain. But what happened was also, because of showing up and beginning to write down these symbols, I started to get dreams of geometries, symbols and geometries. And so now I'm taking, it was interesting because now I'm sort of taking the role of a forensic artist documenting memory, but now I'm documenting my dreams and I'm documenting my memory. And so I would have a dream and I would get up in the morning, I'd get my coffee, I'd try my best to just get out of the way of what it was that the dream was about, but I'd see these diagrams and I would just start drawing fast. And so what I'm going to do quickly with the time that I've left is just show you the progression of this work that I've done. And I started off with just paper, pens, some really low tech. If I gave myself the freedom to rinse it off in the sink if it got too complicated and there was too many lines on it, and just would draw. And it was as if somebody was directing me. This image here was extremely directed. Every single thing that was done on this, even the circles that were not closed all the way, it was directed. And then when it was done, I was told it was done. I since have there was a physicist that ended up seeing this and wrote a whole long dialogue about this, analyzing it, and got a copy of it saying he felt like there was some new science here, which is just blows my mind to think about. So these represent very quick drawings of sitting down and just allowing myself to feel really free, and just allow whatever that wants to come out to come out. This was a drawing that I did at a Ricardo Gonzalez conference in Crestone. I decided while he was speaking that I would just interpret it through doing these drawings, interpret the energy of it. So now I'm having more dreams about multi-layered information, like these things that I'm drawing is information, and the symbols are layers, the geometries are layered, the symbols are underneath and then come on the forefront on top.
These are like transmissions in a way, aren't they, Cynthia?
Yeah, it felt like that, and it felt like very free to do for me because it wasn't like I had any idea what I was doing, and I was just following whatever that other side of my brain. I was just starting with these dream transmissions. And so it gave me a lot of freedom, and I would be finished with one and just say, huh, okay, without a lot of judgment about them myself.
I'm almost getting like a sound with them, like cymatics, when you like put sound and you could see the shape of the sound. This is like the shape giving me the sound, sort of.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that because my life has really gone in sound direction. When I moved back to the East Coast, I started a kirtan group here, and we're doing a lot with sound and vocalizations. And I find that even when I do these paintings and these drawings, there's always music, there's always some kind of sound component. This one was interesting. I don't know if you noticed the eyes on the top. This all formed in this dream. The geometries came, it was all, everything was moving. And then at the very end, in the darkness of this dream, these eyes appeared. And I thought, okay, that's like really freaky. But I was excited to be able to draw that too. And then I began experimenting with, I moved off of the black paper and started to experiment with different color backgrounds. This is sort of like a tan golden paper. And in the meantime, I'm seeing orbs a lot, videotaping orbs. So these are trying to capture the energy of what I almost think of as with every flash in an orb, a changing geometry within it. And for me, my experiences with orbs are very heart opening. Somebody else talked about heart opening. When I feel like I'm being given a message to go outside because they're here, and I do, and there they are, and I just send love. I feel like the love that comes back is like tenfold.
You're going to love John Martin stuff when we see it later.
Nice.
Okay.
How am I doing for time?
Are these painted or drawn? How are you actually doing these?
They're both.
Okay.
Yeah, so now the beginnings were mostly drawn, and now because I've been a painter and a muralist for my whole life, and I do portraits and everything, I've started very slowly with the painted part because I was just trying to master being able to do the geometries that I was seeing in my head before beginning painting. So now I went to Hawaii and I did a workshop there with these geometries that I was teaching, and had a bunch of really amazing experiences with lights in Kona, above the water, under the water. And so this series here is about different experiences that I had there in Hawaii.
These are more like what I see that the camera can't pick up. I'm resonating very deeply with this.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's very much like what I keep going back to is the dreams. I've had dreams, this particular geometry, and another one coming up I'll show you as well, is I'm trying to capture this one dream that I had of these crystalline forms that were hovering above water that were so incredibly beautiful, and they were blues and greens, and they were geometric, but they were tall like a cathedral. And each of them had a sound or a chant or something that I verbalized that I knew that went with each of them. So I don't know what that's about at all. And this was immediately after being in a bay where my heart just broke open of just being, not searching out, not trying to see anything in particular, but just being in that world of the ocean world and having these little orb creatures come up and surround me when I was chanting into the water, they were responding to the frequency or the sound that I was making in the water. It was just an amazing experience. So this really captured those little, I don't know what they were, like they were tiny little transparent balls that had glowing either pink or blue or different glowing colors inside, but it was incredible.
These are gorgeous. We do need to kind of go to our next presenter just to keep everybody's time in a similar amount of time. But a beautiful, beautiful work. And I'd love to have you on the show again, Cynthia, to go even deeper into your sacred geometry.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And that's where you leave that up. And actually leave that up for a moment so people can write it down. And I'm going to read some of the comments that have come in response to you. Matthew writes, Dr. Emoto and how to purify water via cymatics, singing, chanting, just really appreciating the similarity between this work and that work. Reverend Jeffrey writes, the arc crystal contains the geometry of the source of space. And that is the solution to unified science, which has geometry underlying the solution. Brent also points out that what he's seeing is similar to the art of Alex Gray, who, of course, Alan, you and I have had him on the show before. Dear Therese writes, astounding and captivating. Your storyline is unique and engaging. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Jeffrey points out this is like the work of Karina Angela, who's a regular on Global Peace Tribe, is doing. So many people rising in consciousness. And Brent bringing up The Last Mimsy, which is a really interesting movie, a beautiful, so you think it's a children's film, but it's actually very, very profound. Carol writes, transmissions to Cynthia and activations for the viewer. Yes, watching these absolutely is activating us. Atira writes, wow, my engineering history is thoroughly in awe. And lots of people just saying beautiful, fascinating, so cool, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Reverend Boldow writes, Cynthia, these are amazing. So a lot of people really appreciating it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I think we have one more presenter.
Yes, we do.
Indy, it's time to meet Indy.
Indy Riggs, who's a good friend of mine. Let's take off. There you go. Thanks for hanging in there, Indy. And
absolutely. Thank you.
You know, I really want you to come. I mean, what Shelly said about that sound and experience, and what Chris Bledsoe Jr. said about the same thing, and what you told me about this totally unrelated, not knowing anyone, it just tells me, well, there's something real to this. I mean, not that I thought there wasn't, but you're having these incredibly similar experiences, the same, and resonating in the same way. It's, I mean, what did that do to you when you heard Shelly talk about that?
Well, thank you, Alan, for that, because that was quite a gift you were able to give to me on this day. And I've been really looking for somebody that has shared that same vibration, that with the pulsing sounds. And so it was very validating for me. And
do you want to tell your story? I know it's a hard day today because you lost a good friend of yours. And
okay, he's part of the story too, so we can get to
tell
that.
your story, because
Yeah.
I think because it has also the paranormal element, which is a big part of the experiencer's kind of world, but it's not so much talked about because we still know what it is. But yeah, please, because I think it's a really interesting story that has lots of other elements. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all connected. So I'm relatively new to all this. My, experience that happened was actually, just in the year 2022. And it was catalyzed by, as Alan referred to, some certain paranormal type experiences and dreams I had had following the death of my father in 2019. Uh, in this short period of time, 2010 to 2019, my family, we lost my sister, one of my best friends. And then 5 years later, we lost her daughter to diabetes. And then we lost my father about 3 more years after that. So through my sister and my niece, I didn't really have any sort of experiences whatsoever. So it came as a surprise to me when I started experiencing things following my father's death. It was pretty immediate, like many people get signs from their loved ones as soon as someone passes, it'll rain and then it'll stop and a rainbow will pop out. So things like that were happening all the time, right? Uh, Despite that, I was still filled with this grief, grief I think I did not properly process through the deaths that led to my dad's death. And it kind of culminated one night with a dream with my father, my family. My family was there, and it was a very, very vivid, very real dream. And we were on a vacation in an area of San Francisco that we'd frequent a lot together as a family, going from the City Lights bookstore to Cafe Sport, our favorite restaurant. And as my family's crossing the crosswalk, I want to look behind me to make sure everybody made it through safely. And I see my wife, my daughter, my son, and then behind my son, I see my father with a big bright smile and his hair flowing in the wind. And it stopped me in my tracks. And I said, Dad, what are you doing here? Like, this is absolutely impossible. You just died. And with his smile, walks right up to me, looks me into my eyes and places both his hands on my shoulders and says, No, my son, no, there is no death. There is no death. And I was dumbfounded in the dream. At that moment, I realized this is not, real. What is happening here? And I repeated it. There is no death. And he smiled and shook his head. No, there is no death. I immediately woke up after that. And I'm a pretty normal guy. I chalked it all up to, tried to be logical and rational about it. And, I've heard that your brain will make you, will give you something to hold on to during times of grief for comfort to help you process. And so I'm like, okay, it was my brain giving me something. So I went outside to work in my garden. And as I'm digging in the garden, I'm mounding up a row of strawberries, and I'm reflecting on the first time I remember putting my spade in the earth. And I was about 5 years old, and I had found a little cobalt blue marble, and my dad's favorite color was blue. So I picked that marble up, my 5-year-old self, and I ran inside, and my dad said, Wow, a lucky marble, and he kept it his whole life. I still have the marble. In the moment I'm thinking this memory, I'm recalling it, I take my next scoop of dirt and I throw it on the mound, and what lands on top? A cobalt blue marble. So I drop my shovel, I pick up the marble, and I say, Okay, Dad, I get it. There is no death. And that really put into action this an amazing series of dreams I was able to have with my father, many, many dreams. One I can't talk to about them all because there's too many, but there's two I'll refer to because one of them is definitely part of the story. One, I was driving in a car and I look over and I see my dad was driving. And by this time, I was able to come into a lucid state at the sight of my father in a dream. And so we'd be able to interact, hug, talk, things like that. And I said, Oh, Dad, you're here. Oh, I have all these questions for you. Because I had realized there was a lot of stuff I never asked him. So I had a list of things like, okay, when you see him in the next dream, ask him, right? And so I'm like, all these questions that really don't matter. And my brain says, Indy, what are you doing? Like, you have a golden opportunity here. Ask him, like, come on. So I'm like, oh, Dad, forget all that. What is the meaning to this? What is the meaning to life? And he looks at me and he says, well, Indy, what do you want it to be? Mic drop moment for me, right? So that was the nature of like these dreams. Just opened my mind to something amazing. We'll flash forward to the autumnal equinox of 2021. I had a dream again, where I'm in my bedroom, which was my father's bedroom, and I'm looking out the window into the clear blue sky. And suddenly I feel this vibration through my body, um, all around me. It was going through me at the exact vibration Shelley described, and accompanying it was this sound like whom, whum, whum, whum. And I'm looking at the sky, like trying to figure out what is going on. And suddenly I see a ship in the sky coming from the north. And as it's flying south, it is leaving behind it a tear in the clear blue sky. And the tear was lined with fire. And through that tear, I could see outer space. I could see galaxies and nebulas and stars. And I'm having all these thoughts going into my head, like, what are they doing? Are they taking away our atmosphere? Are they, terraforming the earth? What is happening here? And then I see from the south another ship, a white gleaming ship, headed straight towards it, just like that, like it was going to head it off and stop it. And behind this ship was just a beam of white light for as far as you can see. And mind you, this whole time, I'm feeling that vibration in my body, that pulsing kind of vibration with the sound. And finally, I look behind my shoulder, and there was standing my father. And I say, Dad, you're here. What is this real? And he just looks at me and he nods his head, yes. Okay, so I wake up after that. After this dream, I started seeing, these orbs in the sky, doing anomalous things. And I felt like they were able to read my mind in ways. Like if I thought, oh, it's going fast, then all of a sudden it would go fast. I think, oh, it's turning, and it would turn. Happened quite a bit, and my family have witnessed them with me. I've got many, many videos of this, many other eyewitnesses with me that have seen these. And we'll go ahead and flash forward again now to this experience that I had. So it was April 29th, around 10 p.m. And I live on a farm, and I have chores to do at night. Sometimes I wait kind of late to do them. I should probably do them a little earlier. So I was going out to cover my greenhouses, turn on my nursery lights, put my chickens up, shut my gate that goes to the road. And I'm always accompanied by one or all of my dogs. But this night I just had my one dog, Barbas, my Irish Wolfhound. Sorry, he passed away today, and I had to bury him. So again, the synchronistic nature of being able to appear on this with you all, it's an honor, by the way. And Alan giving me this gift has really brought me a lot of closure. So Barbas and I, we were passing through the orchard, headed to the chicken coop. And he runs into the chicken coop before I could shut the gate, and he likes to eat chicken food. And so he's like eating chicken food. It was a little bit muddy, so I got irritated at him. I'm like, dang it, Barbas, now I'm gonna clean off your feet, get out of the chicken coop. Shouldn't be in there. Got him out. I shut the gate, and as we start walking back through our orchard, I'm still like, Barbas, like a little irritated. And I pass a shrine that I had constructed where my wife and I found my father's body in 2019, where he had died. And as soon as I'm passing it, his voice comes into my head, and it says, Indy, chill out, bro. He's just a dog. Take a couple deep breaths, close your eyes. It's all okay. And I'm like, yeah, why am I like getting irritated at my dog? Like, so I stop at the shrine and I place my hand on it and I close my eyes and take some deep breaths. And then I open them, and I'm looking about 45 degrees in the sky. And I see a common star a lot of us probably know, Arcturus. It's kind of got an orangish glow. It's of the Epsilon Botis constellation, which I had downloaded all these apps on my phone. So once I started seeing the stuff in the sky, so I know what's what. So I had learned a lot about stars, planets, and constellations. And then right next to it was a much bigger body of light, a white light, very large. And I'm looking at this light and like, that's not normal. That's not supposed to be there. That's not Jupiter. That's not Venus. That's much bigger than both of them. And not even, those aren't even visible right now. And so I reached for my phone in my back pocket to see if I could pull out, an app and identify what this body is. And as soon as my hand touches my pocket, I realize I left my phone inside. And I think, you left your phone inside. And in that moment, I was hit with that pulsing vibration. Hit me right here in my chest. I felt it all through my body. Very intense. I could hear it. I could hear it all around me. It was like the atmosphere suddenly got thick, like time slowed down or stopped. It felt like I was moving through water or a thick, thick atmosphere. And as it pulsed, as I felt this pulse, this white light emitted this red glow with each pulse, like kind of out of the top right. And I was transfixed. I couldn't look away. I couldn't really think. All I could do was observe and feel. And I don't know how long that lasted or how much time went by, but I do remember the next thing I remember was when I was able to finally have a conscious thought. The light had stopped emitting this red glow and it started emitting from like the bottom left, like the static electricity, like a static discharge of like kind of like blue bolts. And it was audible. So I could hear the static electricity, a lot like a Tesla coil, if any of you have ever witnessed a Tesla coil in action. So it was like with these bolts coming out of it of electricity. And that was when I was like, wow, holy crap, what is going on here right now? This is really happening. And I thought, I'm about to be taken. And I just felt pure terror. And as soon as that terror hit, I started going out. And I started getting this tunnel vision where my field of vision kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. All on the outside was black, and the blackness was just closing in until I had just this little like window of vision left. And I thought, oh no, you're about to pass out, Indy. Do not pass out. Do not pass out. You cannot pass out. And in that moment, when I had that thought, I heard the voice in my head again, and it yelled at me, call your dog. Call your dog. And I like, my dog. That's right. Where's my dog? And so I finally look away from the object, and I realize I'm up my road, maybe about 150 feet away from the shrine. And so I'm like, wow, I don't know how I got here, but I know Barbas is back there at the shrine. And so I look back at the shrine, and there he was, kind of like looking like a pointer dog. He was an Irish wolfhound, so a massive dog. And he was just looking at me intently with one paw raised, not moving. And I yelled, Barbas, and he didn't move. And I yelled it again, Barbas, come. And as soon as I said it the second time, he broke his stance and bolted straight towards me. As soon as he got to me, I placed my hand upon him, and my field of vision just went whoosh, opened back up and cleared. And with my hand on him, I'm like, oh my God, this is really happening. This is nothing to be scared of. This is amazing. This is like a miracle. And I look back up, and it's right above my head, still emitting those sparks. And him and I are just watching it, and I'm just in awe, like I absolute awe. And it starts kind of like vibrating kind of, and like I don't know, making these movements, just kind of like shaking, and then it starts getting bigger and bigger, and then it's split into two, like a cell performing mitosis. And then there's two lights of the same size right above my head, and one started slowly flying north, and the other one started flying south. Um, and as the other one was flying south, it was going at a quicker speed than the one going north. And I thought, wow, that one's about to disappear over the mountain ridge there. I live out in the middle of nowhere in the country. And as soon as I thought, oh, it's going to disappear, it did. It blinked out, and then it blinked into existence again right above my head, and it started following the one to the north. So at that point in time, I'm like, I better get back to the house. I better get my family out here to see this because this is absolutely amazing. So I ran all the way back to the house, but it was, a distance. By the time I got the family out, it was gone. And of course, I come inside and they're just like, what? What's going on? I'm like, oh my God, you aren't going to believe what just happened to me. So that was the main experience, really the catalyst experience that I had. Yeah, and it opened up so much for me. And really, like, I want to go back to what Debs was talking about the fear, right? And so that is the fear, I'm quite confident, is simply the fear of the unknown and like an indoctrination that we've all been subjected to on this planet. Humans do much worse to each other than any experience I have ever had and any experience I've ever heard other people having. Yet many people fear contact more than they fear interaction with human beings. It's I believe my own fear was anchored in that, was anchored in this indoctrination, in the physical, and in this earth. That's what I've always known. And, what I saw was, and what I believe this is all about is it's about evolution, and it's about creating this system of coherence that we've been missing out on for so long. The coherence of the physical and the spiritual, of the left brain, right brain, of the brain and the heart coherent system of energy. And I believe that is truly what we're having these experiences for. People have said, why do you think that people get taken? Well, I think that is also, it's part of that evolution. They're trying to help perpetuate this evolution, whatever it is. Again, going back to the paranormal and, maybe extraterrestrial, whatever, it's all connected and it's all about consciousness. And when we can understand that within ourselves, we can teach others that. And there's things, well, I'm sure you've all heard of like the hitchhiker effect. So I've told people these stories and then suddenly they're seeing orbs. So that was my experience. This is my belief on it, is this coherent system of energy, physical, the spiritual, consciousness. Going back to Omashar's opening song, there was a word that really stood out to me, which is emancipation. And that coherence is the path to emancipation for humanity. And what we are creating here is not necessarily a new species, but a new state of being. And as long as we're able to perpetuate that, tell our stories, share our stories with each other, it's going to happen. And I believe it is in this lifetime. I personally feel if there is reincarnation, I do believe in something like that. Like I've been anchored here in this physical and in the planet for so long, and it is this lifetime, this time here and now. That's why we're all here. That's why we're all here on this call. That's why we're all interested in this subject, because the time is now for all of us to push this forward. We know the narrative. We just need to get out there and tell it. So the more we can do that, the more evolution is going to happen, and it's going to happen at an exponential rate, as we're seeing every single day. It's exponentially growing.
Thank
So again, I'm just honored to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
On this
Wow.
day, we're
Thank you, Indy.
Barbas.
One
My
question
dog.
about Barbas sort of grounded you, and somehow he wasn't just a dog. I met him. He was quite an amazing being, full of love and curiosity and gentleness, and 7 feet tall when he stood up, but just an amazing being. So somehow he's connected to you telling the story today. Guide.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. As soon as when Shelly talked about the vibration and the sound that accompanies it, I'm like, this is it. This is why when you texted me earlier and you're like, I know what happened, you don't have to join. I'm like, no, I need to. Like, this isn't once we get to this place in life, you realize that synchronicities, they don't just happen more and more. We can guide them. And it's not synchronicity anymore. It becomes a manifestation. And that's why we're here. One of the reasons. And so as long as we can keep guiding that into manifestation, we're going to manifest what needs to happen on this earth. And all these powers that are in control that perpetuate war and violence and anti-peace, that's what we're fighting against. And that's what we're trying to lift up. And that's who and what is going to inherit this earth once this is all done. They're not going to win. We are going to win. I have no doubt.
Indy, I want to come in for a moment. First off, I want to acknowledge, as a huge dog lover, the days that my dogs have passed over the years are some of the most meaningful days of my life. Each one is vivid in my mind. I also want to share that we had very similar experiences with our fathers. My father was my best friend. I walked him through his death. And after he passed, I also had several lucid dream experiences with him where we were able to hug, feel each other. I mean, it was amazing. And at first, there was a lot. Like when he first died, he came and visited a lot, and I'd tell him what was going on in my world, and he'd explain his. And then they became fewer and fewer. And then many years went by. And the last time he came, he no longer recognized me as Scott, who had been his son, but just as a soul that he knew, that he wanted to let me know, I'm not going to see you again. I'm now going to be merging into a new world of sound and color. I wanted to say goodbye. And that was the last time I experienced him. So thank you for sharing your story, because it's similar. And if we're lucky, we get to have those lucid dream experiences with our beloveds. And I had that with my father. I also had it with my wife when she passed away. But one last thing I want to mention, it doesn't always happen. I was very, very close to my mother. I walked her through her death as well, lived with her the last 6 weeks of her life, told her all about what happened with Dad. We made agreements that she was going to come to visit me. Mom adored me, loved me very much. That was 15 years ago. Nothing. So it's really a great mystery. Sometimes whatever's going on for them, they're able to find us, connect with us, and that happens, and it's amazing. And sometimes it doesn't. It's a great mystery.
We're all on our own journey, and the evolution of the soul is a great mystery. And yes, the very thing with my father is exactly what's happened with the dreams as well. I haven't had a dream with him now for maybe, well, 2.5 years. So yeah, the same thing.
Yeah. Indeed, there's a lot of messages for you in the chat box. I'm not going to read them because there's so many, but definitely take a look at those. And we're going to do a few announcements, and then we're going to bring all of our presenters on for Q&A. So we'll be back with Indy and Shelly and everybody else in a moment. But we also need to go to John Martin. So we're going to do John, then we'll do some announcements. Alan, I hope your energy is holding up because
I'm good. I mean, that story from Indy, it was so touching and inspiring and human and transcendent all at once. So it's sort of energizing our awareness of why we're here and who we are. And and the bigger picture to it all. So I'm good, Scott. Thank you.
Okay, good. I know you're on East Coast. So speaking of East Coast, we're going to bring on one of my absolute favorite people. And many of you that are regular Global Peace Tribers know him, but some of you, this will be your first experience of meeting John Martin. And what I love about John is he is, for me, the perfect role model for how to have a beautiful, loving connection, because he's so in his heart. And almost every night, he goes outside and he plays guitar. And as he plays guitar, he experiences our galactic family. And his experiences are as consistent and real as anyone I know. And it's all because he sends them love, treats them in the way that we all most want to be treated, with love and reverence, absolute reverence. So, John, before I play the video you sent me today, is there anything you'd like to say as introduction?
Well, I just wanted to comment on Indy's loss of his beloved dog as well. My dog passed in last November, and you'll hear him in my video. He was my partner for many, many years. And when he passed, it took me a couple days before I could go out to the park. And I've got a hand warmer in my kind of put my hand in there. But these beautiful energies came to acknowledge the loss of my dog. And it was, I could feel their beautiful energy. And I was just so thankful and grateful for that. And so this is kind of an overview of my work. I'm a classically trained musician. I'm a guitarist, and I've used my music to interact with the universe. I had dinner with President Carter in Spain, and we spoke about UFOs. And so I used that lovely conversation. He spoke about his UFO experiences, and I told him about mine at the time. And between that and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I went outside on my deck and I began playing this music and projecting positive thought and love into the universe. And I was taking my dog out, and almost immediately after maybe the second session, this beautiful purple plasma craft with a pink ring that was rotating around the bottom third of the bell was about 20 feet above my home. And it was just unbelievable. And I ran inside to get Karen, and all the alarms in the house were going off. I had a surge protector on my musical equipment was smoking, so I unplugged it. And she came outside, and we saw this beautiful craft, and it had a beautiful feminine energy, and it was just such a lovely acknowledgement that I was doing something that the universe recognized. And I've had thousands of experiences since. So a few days later, 4 craft came in 2 sets of 2 over my courtyard. And then after that, the really big ones came. They were in the shape of a cross and a crescent. And Cynthia, I saw the crescent that you made in some of your drawings, and that's a very important symbol for our star family. So these were metallic craft the size of office buildings in the shape of a cross and crescent coming over my home. They were both at a 45-degree angle, burnished metal. And I had my camera, and I'm going to show some. These are the different cameras that I use for people that might be interested in doing it themselves. I think it's important to invest in yourself and just be able to put down for posterity what you see, what you experience, and then it's tangible. And then you can build up a library of events from your life. And that's what I've tried to do, Scott. And I think this video is just sort of a good overview.
Okay, beautiful. So kick back, everybody, and just the combination of what you're going to see and what you're going to hear is just so wonderful.
Wow, friends. Spectacular. Dear friends. Wow. I mean, that's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Spectacular. That is up there. It's a ship. Oh. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. That's just great. Thank you, lovely friends. Wow. Hey, lovely ones. Hey. Wow. Look how bright and beautiful. Hey, my friends. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my sweet, dear, beautiful friends. Hey. That was wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. So good to see you tonight. Thank you, beautiful ones. Look at that. Perfect. Thank you, friends. Thank you, beautiful ones. Thank you, my dear friend. That was great. Thank you. Hey, hey, sweet friends. Oh, how beautiful. Hey, my wonderful friends. Happy Peace Day, dear ones. Thank you. Thank you, my lovely friends. Thank you for coming to see me tonight. So wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, lovely ones. Thank you, beautiful. Whoa, what was that? Right there. Let's see, friend. Wow. Beautiful. Hey, my friends. Fantastic. Gorgeous. There's a craft, for sure. Thank you, beautiful ones. My gracious, that's beautiful. Wow. Lovely. Thank you, beautiful ones. My goodness. That was fantastic. Come here, Bo. Closer. Hey. You do that. There's another one right there. There's a plane behind it. Hey, friends. Wow. Hey, beautiful one. It's just truly amazing. Hey, my dear friend. Wow, gorgeous. Hey, sweet friend. Beautiful. Hey, loveliest. Hey, my dear ones. How gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful, dear friends. Fantastic. Very cool. Wow. That's kind of massively cool.
Get out of here, the light's starting.
Being kind of patient to talk. Wow, this is really cool. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
That easy, absolutely. I mean, that's how you do it, Cinco. You project the best of yourself, whatever that is, to the universe. And the universe is so ready and open and loving and excited when we've made the effort to reach out and speak to them. You know, it's just a gorgeous interchange. And, you know, the experience is a two-way experience. You know, they send love to me, I send love to them, and we just have an absolutely glorious time. And it's so much fun, and I so highly recommend it.
It's beautiful. John, thank you. It's so beautiful. You remind me of the many nights I've spent with my daughter out speaking to the stars, and they respond straight away because they can feel the heart of the child, the cosmic child in each one of us. So a real great blessing to sit in your music and also feel the wonders of how the cosmos responds. I really feel that.
And I can feel your frequency, Altair, and you are aligned beautifully with the universe. And that's what happens is you're just naturally aligned with something that's so inspiring and so beautiful and so important and so loving and giving. And it's so amazing, really.
Scott, can I say one thing? Scott, when you know the orb that was there on our previous show, one of the only other times I've ever seen that was, and I was thinking about your mom this week. You held the little teddy bear during one of the shows, and you were talking about your mom, and all of these orbs started coming up all around you. And that was your mom. I just thought that I was thinking about it.
Oh, well, thank you for that. It's all such a great mystery.
It is.
But I just really, you know, there's so many comments coming in. I'm going to read just a few of them. Indy writes, that wisdom is greater than any riches or any gift. So thank you very much. And Elizabeth writes, bless you. So much gratitude to all of you for sharing on this day of the loss of Barbara. So that's for you, Indy, your guardian dog, and always, as you know, your spirit dog now. and the truth and the wisdom that there is no death. Absolutely. And one of our people, oh, Susan's asking you a question, John. What do you estimate the size of those crafts are that you're filming?
Yes, some are, it's hard to say because you can't really gauge exactly how far away they are. So, but some of them are very large. I would say the size of a small car. The really big, I consider those the deep space craft that come in, and they're fully illuminated, so you don't really get. I've seen them during the day, and you do get a better idea of the shapes and the different. I've had many different kinds of craft that come. I've had a beautiful during the day powder blue egg that came over, and I was. Many years ago, I was taking a friend of mine who was a B-24 pilot during World War II, and I was taking him to the emergency room, and this golden egg, about 3 feet long, came off one of the buildings right in front of us. And I spoke with, I can't remember his name, but he spoke about these small beings, Raymond Kosalandich. And he had these little tiny beings that would fly all around him. And they were in these he said around 3 or 4 foot golden eggs. So I saw their craft, and I've seen many different kinds.
Always great, John.
Carol writes, John is our gentle soul ambassador to our star family. And that sums it up, Carol. You're right. Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, I was just saying, it's always fantastic to get in touch with John's magic and the emanations, and just by what you showed in Indy's story and Cynthia's pictures, I'm realizing, of course I do this all the time, but I'm realizing that there's real magic in this world, Scott, and Deb's work and Shelly's amazing work, or all of us here. We're not taught that there's magic in the world. We start follow orders, go do what you're supposed to do, don't look around, and most people miss the incredible world that really is here because they've just said run along, put your nose to the ground and carry on. But look at the miracles that we've just seen tonight. Just listening to Indy was a miracle, or everything everyone said here is so out of the ordinary that it needs to become ordinary.
Well, we're going to go into our Q&A roundtable next. We'll start with that question that was asked, seems like yesterday, to Shelly. But real quickly, people are asking, if you are not already part of the Global Peace Tribe, come join us. We've been around for 6 years now. We do 2 or 3 shows every week, always on Wednesday and Saturday night. Every Wednesday and Saturday night, we do a show. But like, for example, here's an extra show that we're doing right now. We did an extra Sacred Sunday show yesterday. And all of our shows are similar to what you're seeing tonight. Beautiful music with Omashar and guest musical artists, and inspiring presenters talking about everything from near-death experiences to non-human intelligence to all the different modalities that are helping us to raise our consciousness. So just go to globalpeacetribe.com, click register for the new season, and that'll take you to our registration page. It takes about a minute, and you'll then get the Zoom room links to all of our shows for the next 3 months, taking you all the way through the end of March 2026. And it's a beautiful community of people. Beautiful friendships have been formed. And about 2/3 of the people in our Zoom room right now are Global Peace Tribers. But I also recognize a lot of new people watching that have come in through different ways. And also a big hello to all of you watching on Facebook, YouTube, and all of our broadcast partners.
I have an event I want to share, Scott, a quick one here. This is something coming up in Sedona that Shelly's going to be at, and some of our favorite people. I'm going to host this with Suzanne Ross, Chris Blutzo. Everyone has to eat calls in the stuff, just like John just showed us. He's out there. He's going to do a C5. Carolyn Corey. Bashar is going to be channeling. William Henry, Danny Sheehan, Sarah Brexman Cosby. This is an all-star cast, and I put the link in the chat. So join me and all these all-stars in Sedona for the equinox in March. And here's the link in the chat. And magic, especially when Chris Bledsoe's there. Cynthia knows Chris, and he is like the star child. He just puts it out like, John, you should do something with Chris. I mean, you get twice as many, but he just calls him in all the time. Have you met Chris Bledsoe?
No, we've spoken a few times. Yeah. I don't really know him, but yeah, I respect his work a lot.
A beautiful being who and he says it's all about love. When he puts the love out, they show it. You know him, right, Debz?
I do. We're good friends, and we work together a lot at all of these expos and retreats, and it's just like that. We just send love. And
what did you think of John's show? Have you seen that before, Debz?
Oh yeah, John and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm very familiar with his work. It makes me cry every time. I'm married to a professional guitarist, and I know the power of music. It's just almost like a carrier wave for our love, our invitation. So, but every time I see John's work, I see new stuff, and tonight just really moved me. Thank you.
What I would like to say is that we all have something that's very unique to ourselves. Our lives are like a fingerprint. And what I do, and I would encourage everyone, go outside, introduce yourself to the universe. They understand English very well. I speak to them all the time. Talk to them like you talk to your friend. They are a family. They are our friends. Share, challenges you have, and share the great triumphs in the family, and share what you've dedicated your life to. Mine is music, but it can be artwork or really anything that puts your mind into that very special place that all the troubles melt away, and then your frequency is just a very natural place for you to connect. And when you do that, the universe is so ready and willing and able to meet with us and help us. And that's why I've spent so much time doing this.
Yeah.
I want to invite our audience to put we'll answer a few questions, starting with the one for Shelly. But if anybody has questions or significant comments, even if you put it in the chat box earlier in the night, put it in again so that it's right up there up front. And we're going to go to Shelly for her answer about the abduction, and then we're going to go to Reverend Jeffrey Colebrook. But Shelly, you're up.
I think I'll start with the second part of that question, which was why? Like, why is it happening to me? And the only thing I can say about that is that I'm a third generation, so it also happened to my sister, my mother, and my mother's aunt. So I don't really have an exact why. I do know that I consider all of it a gift at this point. Just like we learn from every situation. We learn from that first romantic relationship that didn't go well at all, but then we learn kind of what we don't want. And it's the same with contact, where when we have an experience that's more on the negative side, then we learn how to protect ourselves energetically, or create, the auric field that we need to attract or deflect whatever it is, to the best of our ability. All right, now about those experiences, there's been many, a lot of them are very textbook. Definitely experiences with the Greys. After meeting Linda Moulton Howe and opening up my curiosity again after decades of kind of keeping everything at bay, the first thing that happened was I got in my car to drive from San Diego to Prescott, Arizona, a trip that I was taking all the time at that time, and my GPS immediately took me the opposite direction. And I also remember that the night before, I had been awake with that vibration in my chest and that sound in my ear. And I woke up and time got funny, and I was going to leave at 9, and all of a sudden it was 3. And I got in the car, and the GPS just took me out in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know where I was, so I pulled over and found out I was right outside of Borrego Springs. I pulled into Borrego Springs, and as soon as I got into town, I became like narcoleptically tired, and I felt like I needed to take a nap immediately. It was 5 p.m., and I said, I can't finish the drive. I have to get a hotel. So I checked into a hotel. There were things about the hotel, like behind the counter, you know, there was a poster with UFO things in it. And I asked the manager if the area was prone, and he said, no, absolutely not. And I knew he was lying. After that, I got it in my head. I got into my hotel room, and immediately in my head there came this like overwhelming urge to see very specifically a sunset from a vista view. And so I GPS, or I looked up in Google Sunset Vista View, Borrego Springs. I got an address. I put it in my GPS. And again, it took me out in the middle of nowhere. The picture of the Vista View showed this big, broad parking lot with lots of cars and people watching a beautiful sunset. Well, it took me to this one car slot. And the GPS literally said, get out and walk. And I've learned now that when things happen, I start taking screenshots, but I wasn't that on top of it yet. I was just wondering what was happening. I got out to walk, and I said, no, wait, this doesn't feel right. Something's off. And I grounded into the earth, and I called on all of my angels and guides, and I asked for guidance of what to do, and I muscle tested it, and I got back in that car and drove 80 and a 30 all the way back into town. But after that, once I got to my hotel room, it was an entire sleepless night of contact. And like I say, although there were lots of screen memories put in place, where I was being shown things like all night I kept being pulled over by the police in my dreams because there was light everywhere. And in the dream, I would think, oh, I'm being pulled over by the police. And then I would wake up and I would say, oh God, that's not the police. That's a craft. And so it was a very detailed experience. And about 2 months later, same thing. Vibration in my chest in San Diego. I wake up to drive to Prescott. Somehow time slips, and I said to myself in the morning, if it's 3 p.m. when I'm supposed to leave again, I'm not leaving. It was 3 p.m. I left anyway, and it took me the opposite direction out into the middle of the desert. And this time it took me into a big fog cloud that came out of nowhere. And in the fog cloud, there were I couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of my car, so I was barely driving. And there were a lot of lights out of nowhere. It was high strangeness for sure. And the strangest thing about it is that I was on a Zoom conference call that included Alan, and they were talking about high strangeness at the time. They couldn't hear me. I kept trying to, I could hear them and even see them on the video, but no one could hear me. And so it kind of opened up later this conversation of secondhand screen memories and high strangeness, so that the people that are around the contactee are also having that. So that's kind of one really general experience of what it's like. when it happens. I just want to finish by saying that throughout my life, I've had every kind of paranormal experience, and everything from near death, out of body, all the way down the list. And it's always the same feeling inside of my body. Contact experiences, when I'm with someone who's dying, or if someone comes to me telepathically after they've died. An experience in the ocean with an entire pod of dolphins for 20 minutes, where they were swimming. I was in contact with at least 5 or 6 dolphins constantly for 20 minutes in the ocean. Same vibration. And when any kind of phenomena is happening. And I really believe what's happening is that we are becoming plasmically aware. We're becoming aware at the plasmic level, which means we're pulling intelligence and emotion and love and light from everything, all at once. And with that, I see Scott's back up on the screen. I could go all night. And blessings to you, Indy. I'm going to tell you an amazing story about a pet coming back from the other side to say hello later. So many blessings.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you. We're going to go to Reverend Jeffrey, and then we're going to Tim Spelly. If you are in the audience, we're going to go to you next.
He is. I think he
Okay,
is.
great. So we're going to hear a little bit from Reverend Jeffrey, I think, about the Boogosphere. Jeffrey, what's the latest?
Well, I'm curious too. My question is, how many people here have been following the Boogosphere? What are your ideas? What are your experience? But it's amazing. Of course, it's a phenomena like so much here. First of all, this is a show. I mean, the people are sharing here. It's such a honor to be with all you folks. So I had to say that. And the stories here and what she just shared is so beautiful, because it is all the same. There is only one. And my dear friend Nassim always says it's not either or, it's both. And I don't know how many familiar with the Boogosphere, but there's this sphere that was found in Buga, Colombia, and it is anomalous for sure. And I'm going to put a couple videos of the story and hear whatever you have thoughts on that. It'd be fine. I'd like to hear them. But one of the things I can share, besides what you're going to see in the video, is that it's sphere, which had gravity control. They've dated it to over 2,500 years old. And what I know from the International Space Federation folks are deep into studying this scientifically and doing a lot of experiments. And they've had its experience that it's sentient, which I'm sure don't surprise everybody here. They're telepathic. It's a telepathic communication. And it came here and actually surrendered itself for what's going on, and things that are very anomalous, like it gained weight, changed weight since they had it. And there's a lot in the videos that I will be posting and putting in the chat for you folks that are interested in going down and looking deeper into. I think it's one of the great mysteries right now. So if I don't know how many people here with this group are familiar with it, but I'd like to hear whatever ideas and thoughts or interest that they have in it. So thank you, Scott. And we'll
Absolutely, Jeffrey. Thank you for all you do. And I actually posted those videos.
Okay.
So for people that have been following the Boogosphere, pop in the chat box what your thoughts are about it. How has this impacted you? And again, for people who haven't heard about it, those watching on Facebook or YouTube, just go to YouTube and write in latest Boogosphere update, and you'll be able to see some videos. It's fascinating. And by the way, Jeffrey, actually, they've, through testing the resin from inside of it, it's actually 12,000 years old, 12,000 years old, which is really...
The number I got was over 25, but in those videos, they say it's over 25. But again, it also is being researched, and we're going to have more information unfolding. So that's going to be, we're going to get a lot more coming on, which will, and again, I got there, Dr. Inez from International Space Federation group is going to be part of the team investigating the consciousness and deeper into it. So we're going to have more information
We
coming.
will be, just as we've been tracking it on Global Peace Tribe, we will continue to track it. Thank you, Jeffrey. Love you much. All right. Alan, I'm going to bring you up, and let's also bring up Tim.
Tim, you see him there?
I saw him there a moment
I'm
ago.
right here. If I speak, maybe you can
Okay.
see me.
Tim and a bunch of other people, Eduardo Mays, Tara, Dr. Tara, put together an amazing website called UApedia, which is really the trusted place to go for UFO information. There it is. And they put a lot of work into this. It's just being launched, but they are fact-checking the articles. They're talking about experiences. I mean, there's very few places. There's a lot of stuff out there, but I trust this particular website's just being created these days to get a kind of overall history and a lowdown on the current phenomena. What do you have to say about it, Tim?
Yeah, thank you, Alan, and thank you, Scott. It's really I've tuned into the show, but I never ever thought I would be on it. But here I am. Be careful what you think is impossible out there. Yeah, Alan, you're right. This is the intent here is to create this this trusted source, because there's just so much interest in UAP and UFO and consciousness right now. We felt like there was a need and a void for a source of knowledge that was built by a community and verified and trusted. So, if you look on Wikipedia or if you look on Twitter, Wikipedia has a bunch of vandalism going on, and Twitter has all types of misinformation, and the good information is scattered about. It's hard to tell signal from the noise. So what we wanted to do is create this public record and be able to really document sort of the history of UAP, and also begin to ease ontological shock as people discover this topic. If we think about it long term, we understand, and I think a lot of people on this call would understand that experiencing a UFO or UAP or some type of supernatural experience can bring you into and make you aware of high consciousness. And so we feel like this website and this effort is also an entry point to get people to understand that there's a higher consciousness out there. So this is open source. It's free. We're not planning to charge a membership or anything. And we really are looking for people to join us. So we just launched this at Seoul in Italy in November. So this is a relatively new effort. What you're seeing, and I can show some things on my screen here.
Are you taking requests for articles as well from people who?
We are, yeah. We're taking requests for articles. We're, what we have is like featured articles. We have dossiers. We have featured, and we have one from Alan that's coming up. Actually, we have featured perspectives and points of view, like from Dr. Daniel Bronco and Dr. Tara. We have more of these coming. We also have a bunch of biographies out there. We have UAP Talk that's coming with Alan soon. We're planning to, have a memo that we send out weekly about news that's happening. So there's a lot going on with this. This one was just published for experiencers on Edgar Mitchell's research program called Free. So largest experiencer contact survey.
It's another place to build community too for experiencers and people wanting
That's exactly
to share.
right. Yeah. So we are trying to build and have had some success attracting folks to this effort to build what we're calling a guild. So this is, we're using some developed specialized AI tools to do research for us and desk research about what's publicly available and in archives and in witness reports, photographs, and so forth. But then we really like humans to come in and take a look at it. And make sure that we're not missing anything. We obviously have an AI agent that does fact checking for us and does editing for us. But we really need that human perspective on this to make sure that we're not missing anything that's really relevant. So,
it's so important because this is another way to legitimize experiences. We could talk amongst ourselves, but then putting it out there in a place, other people who may not be familiar with this can go and say, oh, really? This is so, yeah, thanks, Tim and Eduardo and Tara for being another source. It just shows you the evolution of this contact culture of contact.
And we actually are sponsoring our first event. It's coming up on January 25th. It's an online conference. Of course, we've heard from a number of government officials in the documentary Age of Disclosure and a number of whistleblowers, but this conference is focused on the point of view coming from academia. So we have a number of PhD level folks that have agreed to participate in the event. So this is like Sean Esborn Hargis from the Integral Noetic Institute, Dr. Daniel Branco, Dr. Tara Deliberto, Dr. Rizwan Virk, Dr. Kim Engels, who is the research director of the John Mack Institute, Dr. Jeffrey Kreipel, who runs the Institute of the Impossible at Rice University, and there's some others that are participating as well. So this is our first online event. We're really excited about it. So more information will be coming out about this.
That's January 25th. I'll send out announcement.
And Alan's hosting. So
Tim, what time is that going to be on the 25th?
Yeah, we're firming up the schedule. We're thinking it's going to be something like 10 a.m. Pacific time, so that we can accommodate for time zones. We're actually reached out to Dr. Beatrice Villarreal to see if she wants to participate, and she's in Sweden. So we want to make sure that we can accommodate her with time zones too. So
I'll have it on my New Realities YouTube channel as well. And
I forgot a huge speaker, actually. Dr. JJ and Desiree Hertog are speaking as well. So I can't believe I forgot them off the list. That's my mistake. But yeah.
Tim, thank you so much. Great.
Thank you both. Really appreciate it.
Great work.
Great show tonight. Really great show. I loved hearing all the experiences that everyone has had and how music is a connector to the phenomenon and certainly the touching story from Indy. Great to see you, Indy. It's been since TCCHE, by the way. So it's great to see you. Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to bring everybody up one last time. We're going to wrap up here.
Do you want to show the trailer? It's a 2-minute trailer for the new movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go ahead and show that, Alan.
All right. So what we're talking about with UApedia and the Age of Disclosure, there's this new Steven Spielberg movie coming out in June, which is bound to just shake everyone up. It was released just the other day. There's already 17 million views. This on the trailer. The whole film comes out June 12th. And it's 2 minutes, but there's some elements in here that particularly speak to the experiencer. Okay, this is do you see that? Do you see that there now, Scott? Yes?
Yep, sure do.
Here we go.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today is today's.
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
People keep wandering, encountering the unknown.
They're coming! They're coming!
They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others? Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?
Wow. So, what?
I don't know about that.
A couple of
Isn't that-
interesting things about the trailer. You'll notice that you don't see any aliens.
No.
And, I think that the speculation is that the movie's going to be much more about our rising consciousness, channeling, and there was a fascinating comparison between the sound that that woman makes when she's clearly being possessed by something, and it's almost identical to the sound that Daryl Anka makes as Bashar is coming in. So it's interesting how our world, we've all been connected to Daryl and Bashar forever. Well, Spielberg is like now kind of bringing out to the world what we've been exploring and into for decades.
This is going to be huge. We thought Disclosure was just a small conversation. Now it is, he's the most successful filmmaker, one of the most creative, and is just skyrocketing, with the pun intended there, skyrocketing to cover the world with what we've been talking about in our small circle. So this is an exciting moment. And yeah.
I'm not sure about the fear-based part, though. I have thousands of hours of interactions. There's never been any fear whatsoever.
Well, that's
And
what
so
Deb said. Yeah, Deb said that.
I don't know. I'll hold my opinion until I see it. But
You're making a good point, Sean. And just like Age of Disclosure was all about, governments or people coming forward out of national security concerns. Well, clearly, if these advanced civilizations wanted to harm us, would be toast. What they have done is they've shut down nuclear reactors. They've let us know you will not use nuclear weapons anymore. And almost all the messages that people get are messages of love, messages of becoming environmentally sustainable. But I think to get a movie made, a Spielberg movie is $100, $200 million budget. It probably has to have a certain amount of that stuff to draw in the audience. But this is the guy who made Close Encounters. This is the guy who made E.T.
That's the hope I have too.
Yeah, and I imagine it's gonna, the trailer gets people to watch the movie, and then I'm sure he's gonna deliver something that will feel
Then he did War of the Worlds, and I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air.
Yes, Indy, just once, you had this dramatic experience to take you from fear into love. Not everyone has that opportunity. What do you suggest for the rest of humanity, or what can you give them as a way?
Again, what I would say is similar to what Deb's explanation was in her initial telling and sharing, is that we're really anchored, into this physical world, into the earth, and thinking of something that, just fear comes from a place of, something you just don't understand, you don't know. Again, I think that when we're able to make these conscious connections, these bridges from this physical earth and something greater, the spiritual, the consciousness, we're able, I think, to integrate that a lot easier. And the fear, it may still be there. There may still be some sort of sense of something, but once you understand that bridge exists and you're able to go back and forth, I think that fear for myself, and I think other experiencers that have come to this conclusion, it's comes from this place of indoctrination and being anchored into a physical existence. Once we can transcend that, then that fear can go. And
What about you? Oh, Cynthia, yeah, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say, and yeah, I agree with everything that you're saying, Indy, is that we are living in a time of choice right now. And the choice is a choice between fear and a choice between love. And we are in a time of choosing reality, the reality that we want to create and be in. And that choice takes effort. It takes try. It takes visualization. And that's why I do the geometries that I do. It's not just to do pretty pictures. It's to sit down when I feel bad and do this work and transform the way I feel into a heart-centered, heart-open, joyous feeling. And we can all do whatever that might be, right? Creative or whatever it is in our lives, that what brings you joy. And that's our job right now, is to do what brings you joy, and that will have an impact on everybody around us. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that this whole thing about disclosure being about them finally telling us, and for all of us experiencers, there is a huge amount of relief and validation after being stonewalled for our whole lives that what we're experiencing, that we're crazy, right? So there's that, and that's really important. But the sky is not classified. We all can have our own experiences. We all need to take interest in that and go outside. So many people say to me through the course of my life, I wish I saw something. I never do. And I always say, well, do you go outside and look? And they say no. I'm like, well, set an intention that that you're curious and that you want to understand that, and that you're inviting a positive experience in that way. So anyway, I'm not into the fear thing, and I feel that it's just very interesting to see how it's all going to play out, because people are very brainwashable. And if this is a concept that is new to a lot of people, really exposing their consciousness to the fact that this is a reality, and it's being presented in a way that's really freaky and really scary, it's might be hard to flip that.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you,
Now,
Cynthia.
when they gave me the first aeroglyphs, when the cross and the crescent shaped craft, the Bugosphere is covered in crescents. And so they use symbolism very frequently. And when I had my camera and they said, please don't take a picture, we'll give you something you can take a picture of. That's when the beautiful heart-shaped cloud appeared in the same place. And I've had many heart-shaped clouds that they create, and I film them, and you have to see tiny craft in front of them as they're creating it. I was going through a very difficult period. They made a heart with a little piece taken out. It was impacted, and you could see the round craft underneath, the same one that I filmed that was doing the aerobatics. And so they know that this is a challenge. They know how hard it is for this third dimension to actually acknowledge higher dimensional beings, things that we just can't explain. And so they're being very careful. They've been very civil to me the entire time, and they know our hearts, and I think we should trust them to do that. And when you have these big events, like a big film coming out that millions of people will see, that has a narrative that is not reflective of the actual events, I'm not sure how helpful that is.
Right. Shelly,
Shelly's been trying. Yeah, that's Shelly.
I wanted to reflect that when I watched that trailer, what I notice is that the real fearful moments are with humans. It's car chases and what looks like Men in Black, or you know, it's men running into rooms with guns. Those are the frightening moments. The rest of it is high strangeness, is the unfamiliar. Like, I don't really see anything that feels that frightening in terms of being subjected to by off-planet intelligence. So I do hope and I do kind of trust in Spielberg to spin it in a way that won't be just, you know, another fear-based movie. Because if it is, I won't be able to watch it. I haven't been able to take in any fear-based or I don't watch Disney. It's too violent for me. So, but I do want to also offer that I believe that there is no end to polarity. So as we move from Earth into the cosmos, into the universe, there still will be polarity. There still will be, you know, the forces that we want to be with and the forces that we don't want to be with. And so all along, we have to continue to choose. And then we choose again, and we choose again, and we do the inner work, just like Cynthia said.
You know, I just want to say, I think, and I can't prove this, but Steven Spielberg is probably a contactee. He's been obsessed his whole life with the subject. Any interview about Close Encounters or ET says this is something he always thinks about. So I think he's doing these films to start to understand the situation himself. And I think he did throw in some channeling there and some other stuff where he's talking more about the experiences. And you're right, Shelley, all the fear comes from the humans, not the animals in the field or the birds. There's the recurring cardinal, which is a sign of something said, that red cardinal showing up. So
I want to, if I may, just one last thing about Spielberg. We have to remember that he completely shifted our awareness about ETs. Before he made Close Encounters and before he made ET, all the movies that have been made were they're going to eat us, they're going to kill us, they're going to destroy us. And after those two movies, everybody wanted to have a close encounter with an ET. So he's already done a tremendous job in changing our perspective about our relationship to our galactic family. And I trust this is just the next chapter in the evolution.
Well, we'll see. You know, he's 80 years old. I don't know how many more films he's making. This could be his swan song, but you know, I'm
That was the
excited.
impetus for me when I used Close Encounters as, you know, as my model when I went out on my deck and I wanted to project. And I mean, literally the craft started coming in almost immediately. So, I mean, he's been a great influence. The problem I have is, you know, the possession. You know, Bashar chooses to have that happen to him. But you know, when they show it as, you know, I don't know, as a possessed person, I just don't think that's really anything that's going to happen myself.
And also the other thing that's strange, if you watch that trailer, when that news reporter or that weather reporter, first of all, the weather in the background is moving in really quickly, that whatever that front is. So that's strange. And then the person that's in the crop circle is looking at a phone while she is doing her reporting, and it almost looks suggestive as if the person in the crop circle is somehow has some kind of an impact on whatever is happening with her, with the sounds and her kind of seizing up and stuff. So that was also, I mean, I'm hoping that it's going to be this incredible revelation at the end that's just going to blow our minds in a really good way and not be just tying into the fear stuff.
Okay, thanks. And okay, Indy, thank you.
Indy's next. And then we really need to wrap up because I've got something else at 8 o'clock. So
Oh, you do? Okay, I had one more thing I wanted to show, but okay, Indy,
yeah,
go.
I mean, we've got about say 7 or 8 more minutes.
Okay, go ahead, Indy.
So the main actress in that movie, I believe I have heard, is going to be testifying in front of Congress for an experience she has had. Her name is
Oh, really?
Emily Blunt. Yeah, the woman who is shown to
Oh,
be
I know that.
possessed or channeling. So maybe this is leading up to something. And I just want to say I agree with, like, the fear-based narrative, and it's not, great to perpetuate that. With us, disclosure didn't come from the outside. I think a lot of us disclosure came from the inside. But with the rest of the population, I think in order to make those inroads, there is going to have to be some way that it's explained to them that it will connect with them. And so through film, that may be the best media for them. Yeah. So yeah, just the little tidbit about Emily Blunt. That is something that I read recently. I didn't fact check it, so we might want to, but that is something I heard.
That's interesting. That's great.
I just think we're going to find that they're going to be the coolest people that we've ever met. And they're not going to be these, this really on the edge kind of horrible experience, because they're incredibly cool and they have such beautiful energy. When you feel it and you see it, it's amazing. And that's what I would like to see, is somebody just reflect how really awesome this is going to be.
We're going to see it. I had one more thing I want to show and help Danny Sheehan's organization, the Paradigm.
Oh, yes. This is really important to support.
And they asked me to speak about, so this is just a little clip from, what does he call his organization there?
The New Paradigm Institute.
This is the people's movement, not the government's. And I was part of this Washington hearing. Do you see that on your screen there, Scott?
You do. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, this is a couple of minutes of why disclosure is important. I mean, people's disclosure.
Good morning and welcome to the hearing regarding UAP disclosures. For too long, the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomena has been shrouded in secrecy, stigma, and in some cases, outright dismissal. Today, I want to state clearly that this is not science fiction or creating speculation. This is about national security, government accountability, and the American people's right to the truth. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and the nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft that hovered silently for about 45 seconds before shooting away at impossible speed.
A self-luminous, tic-tac-shaped object emerged from the ocean before linking up with 3 other similar objects.
These things are real. They can fly in formation, they're evasive, and they outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours.
I saw a 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base.
It's either a weapons program being reverse engineered by our governments or other governments, or not from here. Those are it.
There is something out there, and we should know as the people what it is.
Let this be the moment when America chooses courage over fear, transparency over secrecy, and progress over stagnation. Let's show the world that our nation leads not only through strength, but through fearless pursuit of the truth.
One more piece here. One more little piece. And this is the organization.
That's a good one. I'm on it. My name is Nathan, sir.
If I can help, you holler at me.
Thank you, sir.
UFO and UAP disclosure is important to society because there's a change in perspective that needs to happen. The reality of what exists has never changed and will not change. There is a force, unfortunately, that is trying to withhold that information at this point, and we have to stand up and say no more.
To help bridge the gaps between people and to bring us closer together and remember that connectedness is what will literally get us out of the mess that we're in.
It has to do with transparency with the government, giving Congress the ability to perform proper oversight over both what the government is doing, several agencies, as well as what the private sector is doing.
We're not being told the truth, and we deserve the truth, not just as citizens of whatever country we're from, but also as citizens of the world and as collective humanity.
What's really remarkable is that we have been lied to,
as the American people for probably 70 years at least, since World War II.
I think disclosure, for what it means and what it stands for at the end of the day, is very important to everybody, basically. For me, fundamentally, as a human being, I think we have a right to know.
We're entering into an inflection point, a tipping point, as a nation, as a species, and as a world.
UFO disclosure is part of our evolution of humanity, expanding our knowledge of the universe, it's what we've always done since the beginning of civilization. What's over that mountain? What happens if we plant this crop? What happens if we make this machine? What happens if we know there's more to the universe? It changes our scope of reality, which gives us more opportunities, which expand our mental cognition to be more creative, more loving, more open, more resilient humans. There we go.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's a complete circle. We started with the government, we went into the experience, we come out and realize it is up to us. And all the love that's been expressed here today and feeling, this is the new paradigm. And thank you all. Thank you, Scott and Shelly.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for what you're doing. We will continue to do Making Contact shows as part of the Global Peace Tribe. We'll track what's going on with New Paradigm Institute, government disclosure, but most important, people like yourselves who are sharing your experiences in so many wonderful and creative expression ways. John singing to the stars, Cynthia bringing through this incredible artwork, Indy and his family and his dog, all these beautiful ways. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Hope you'll all join the Global Peace Tribe. Go to globalpeacetribe.com and join us. We've got some wonderful shows coming up every Wednesday, every Saturday, and then special programs like this. Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.
So much, Scott, again.
And remember to go out and look to the stars.